yes and no. So, uh, okay, no, like,
I'm sorry, did I bring up a sad subject? We
no,
could
no,
move
no.
past
Yeah,
it.
I was devastated, man. Like I had always been pretty good at everything I've done, so like I never thought that was gonna happen to me because I'd just been doing live shows and I had just had we had like quarterly reviews, like, hey, you're doing great, da da da. So like on Tuesday, you're doing great. You're on the shows this weekend. On Thursday, ooh, you're like, oh, I was like, wait, what? That's devastating. So like I cried. Whatever. Um, but yeah, there's like they had like a lot of people there, man, and just wasn't really anything that they had for me, and just didn't really it wasn't a performance thing, because I know I wasn't doing bad if I was on like house shows and stuff, and I was like learning and progressing. I think it was just more of a we have a lot of people here, we don't really have anything going on for you, so man, that was pretty clean, pretty easy. They've always been pretty open with me. Like we have communicated in the past, and even still, I touch base with like a lot of guys and that are that are in office positions, and so like it's pretty solid relationship still. So there's no bad blood, if at least on my end. Like I don't know, I can't really speak for them.
Sure. But
But
that's the thing. You look at that. It's like a release isn't necessarily always going to be a bad thing. It's like you've seen guys get released, they go, they get themselves more seasoned. Drew McIntyre is a perfect example of that. He went on the indies, he went around the world and really grinded away and came back a better performer.
yeah, and that's what they told me. They're like, hey, because like I had zero experience. It's like I think there are a lot of people that come in with way more experience than me. They don't last nearly as long or whatever. So it wasn't. They're like, hey, if you go out and you start performing more and like you make a name for yourself, we're not saying no. It's just a not right now, which is cool, man. And that's cool for me. I've been doing that, never stopped, and um, I hit up Norman Smiley a lot, and like Adam Pierce and like Billy Gunn. I train with him sometimes, and those like three main guys have like I've always reached out to them like, hey, like, can you watch this, or what do you think about this, and how's it going and stuff like that. So they've always been really good at giving me like feedback, or hey man, that was the shits, or that was really good, or work on this or that. So that's been like a really nice relationship to still have with those guys in that setting. So that's been pretty cool.
I mean, having those guys, that are veterans in the industry and the profession to be able to call upon and get that advice that's invaluable.
Yeah, it really is, man. Especially like with Adam. Adam was like a big stable in Ring of Honor. So like just what I'm doing now and things like that, and like utilizing his knowledge and getting advice from him and stuff has been helped a lot. Even like things outside of wrestling that I've needed help with. He's never been shy from like, hey man, like if I need something, I'm like, hey dude, I'm having this problem, this like my brain, whatever. He's like, yeah man, like just we'll shoot the shit. It's not always wrestling related, and that's been like one of the really cool things about the relationships I've built with them, like especially with Billy. Like I did watch Billy growing up, like he was like definitely one of my favorites growing up, and so getting to train with him and work with him and having like not only a professional relationship but a personal relationship has been like yeah, like oh my god,
It's like fanboy out sometimes. It's
yeah,
like,
like I try not to, but like it's just Billy, man. Like if you ever talk to him, like there's no way you can't just like fall in love with him because he's such a cool dude and he's just larger than life. I mean, he's like literally huge, So getting to, like wrestle with him and like hang out with him and like sometimes drive his truck when he doesn't want me to, which is cool. That's always fun. And like and then working with his son and meeting Austin, which is like really really cool, and having a good relationship with those guys.
you mentioned Bill DeMott, and Bill has, there's many people that have come out and questioned how his training methods were. Some people say good things, some people say not so good things. What was your experience in training under Bill and going through that process with him as the head coach at the time?
I have nothing but great things to say about Bill. DeMott was an amazing coach. I mean, things I experienced were pretty positive for me personally. A lot of my coaches in college and in high school were a little more, let's say, rough. Like I
Mm.
think it takes a different kind of athlete to do what we do, and there's different coaching styles that work for different people. Personally, for me, I really gravitate towards the style that Bill has. Like one of my coaches in high school was a former cage fighter and like a collegiate national champ, and that was an aggressive dude. Like I don't even want to say anything because I don't want to get him in trouble. But there were some practices where like, yo, chill, dude, and like I love it. He was so aggressive and he was very hard, like a hard person. And then I also had another coach who was like the complete opposite spectrum, and I gravitated towards both. And Bill was just a very hard individual. You know, some people don't get his kind of humor. Some people are a little softer than others, and that's okay, man. Like, and I think some people, like as a coach, you kind of got to recognize who can gravitate toward your style, and like sometimes you got to change it up. And I think he tried to do that, and like some people just, you know, if they're kind of set like, oh, he says to me today, and like I don't care what happens going forward. But I never had a bad experience with Bill, and I didn't really witness anything that was like, oh, dude, no, you shouldn't do that, you know.
Mm.
So and like even now, like like I work with other wrestlers, and like I kind of coach very similar to that because like I think it worked for me and I liked it, and